Now coming on to the Marxist approach. So Marxist approach is different from the pluralist approach, where pluralists believe in media promoting choice and competition. Marxists disagree with that, and Marxists argue that the role of media is to produce and reproduce the dominant ruling class ideology through this tactic of false consciousness. And how are they able to do that? How is the media able to do that? Media is able to do this because it is mainly being owned by capitalists who use the power of the media to keep themselves in power. For example, Miliband in his book said that the state and the capitalist society acts as an agency of indoctrination, and by which he means that the media which is being controlled by your capitalist owners, they're giving people information and ideas to keep the ruling class in power, and they're also creating a false consciousness that this class inequality is fair, it's real, and basically makes the proletariat accept those views uncritically, right? And I would like to give you some examples to make this theoretical understanding, this abstract understanding, practical or real. For example, it was through media that the Americans were convinced about the 2003 Iraqi invasion by saying that Iraq was able to launch attack in 45 minutes, right? So they were justifying the Iraqi invasion by America. Media functions and another function. So one function is basically to keep the ruling class people in power. Another function of media is to distract people's attention from important issues like working class exploitation, right? And they divert attention of people on trivial issues like entertainment, distracting people from real world issues, and is distracting people's attention on trivial issues like how celebrities are dressing up, or gossiping about celebrities or sports, right? That's the Marxist view. Marxists simply say that it keeps one group into power, which is the bourgeois. Moving on to the neo-Marxists. So for neo-Marxists, dominant ruling class ideology is not passed through false consciousness, but the way controllers are fed with information, right? Controllers are the one who are basically controlling media simply. The dominant ideology involves a set of beliefs involving a distortion of truths. You're not actually telling the truth, you are distorting the truth. You're not numbing down people, right? You're not giving them false hopes, or you're not creating them. You're simply distorting the truth, right? Which serves the interest of the ruling class. We see that the dominant ideology includes what? It includes the approval of business, inequality of wealth, monarchy, disapproval of trade unions, and it basically disapproval of trade unions and protests, right? And also of young and radical people coming up with ideas of revolution or protesting against the tyrant class, the upper middle class, right? Then there is also another view of media which is proposed by the hegemonic Marxist view, which says that the editors and the producers and the journalists are the ones who are reporting because these editors, producers and journalists themselves belong to the dominant ruling class. It is very much likely and also plausible that they will pass on what? They will also pass on the dominant ruling class ideology. To do what? To keep themselves in power, to reproduce their power, which in turn reproduces what? Which in turn maintains what? The class difference, right? The class exploitation, the social hierarchy. The media passes on the dominant ruling class ideology not because they want to deceive people, but because these controllers, the people who are in power, these controllers which comprise of white, male, middle class people, in order to keep themselves in power, and then they pass on their ideals, right? This is how power reproduces itself again and again. Lastly, we move on to a very important scholar, which came after Marx, and he stretched out Marx's idea, was Althusser. Althusser says that power can be reproduced through different types of agency. One is the ideological state apparatus. Other is the repressive state apparatus. Your media, your religion is a part of the ideological state apparatus, right? The state can reinforce or maintain its narrative through two things, right? It can ideologically manipulate people, or it can actually repress people. Media and religion ideologically manipulate people, right? It is more like using soft power. However, the RSA, the repressive state apparatus, it includes your army, your criminal court, your police. when you see police coming on streets and they want to curb a protest, they want to stop a protest, and they are basically using tear gases or using shelling, that comes as a part of repressive state apparatus. The state is using its hard power, right, to stop people from going against the state. However, we are now interested in the ISA. We're interested in the, for this purpose, for this subject, for media, we're interested in the ideological state apparatus. So Althusser says that media acts to ideologically manipulate people to believe that it is fair the ruling class stays in power and they deserve it to stay in power. So in summary, what Marxists say is that media is able to maintain power in two ways, right? One is by concealing the truth from the ruling class and spreading misinformation, right? Another is by distracting the working class from important issues by diverting their attention to celebrity politics or sports or to tourism. That's also an important part, but you need to give more attention to real issues that is affecting an individual's everyday life. That is obviously determining their basic needs like food, water, shelter. Then we move on. In summary, we've also explored the Althusser's idea, and we move on to Gramsci. And Gramsci also said that media maintains its hegemony by he gave a very interesting take on that. He said that it basically, the media creates an hegemony, right, by taking a informed consent from the viewers, right? You consent to that. You consent that yes, ruling class are to maintain in power, and you accept that. You are ideologically manipulated to accept that, and you consider the mistruth, you consider misinformation to be true, right? And then you keep them in power, right? You are the ones, even the proletariats are the ones who succumb to that, and they keep the ruling class in power, right?